All right. Welcome, everybody. I hope that you are doing very well today. I am, well, I guess if I was doing any better, it'd be illegal. So I am doing great. Welcome. I'm glad that you are here with me. Okay. So let me, we're going to talk about Kohberger today. It's kind of weird because, I haven't been on very much, not like I used to be, but, work is a lot. We had some family things going on. And so, I appreciate you guys kind of bearing with me while I go through the world of family and work and YouTube creator. So, yes, Rex Uriman was in court yesterday. New York doesn't allow us to get a camera glimpse into the courtroom. So I'm hoping that one of our community members will be in New York and might be able to catch one of these hearings and give us a little bit of insight. Until then, we're just going to have to watch the news because that's all we get. And yesterday, we didn't really get a lot. There just really wasn't much. We found out they have 8, gigabytes of information. That's not a lot when you look at the Kohberger case where we're talking about, was it terabytes? So, Kohberger is, this is a crazy case. So much going on all the time. But the Uriman case to me is just fascinating. And I'm going to keep on covering. That's probably my number one case. But, there's lots of people doing Kohberger information. But I did have something come up that I really want to address related to Bryan Kohberger. So let's do it. Now then, so Kohberger has been just about in the daily cycle of news. Lots of different things happening between the defense counsel and the prosecution. And right now they're doing a lot of arguing about the alibi, that kind of thing. So for the most part, the complaint that and the defense counsel has, the complaint has been with the little trick move that I think it was a trick move that the prosecution engaged in with the grand jury indictment rather than doing a preliminary hearing. And it basically saved the prosecution from having to show their hand. It saved their witnesses from having to be cross-examined by a real attorney, not a Linda Stanley, but a real attorney about the evidence that they had collected and what it might mean and the eyewitnesses and that kind of thing. So it was I believe, my opinion only, I do think that it was a calculated move on the part of the prosecution. And they said, no, not so fast. We're not going to expose our hand. We're not going to give you access to our witnesses. And so let's do it this way. And so they quickly put together a grand jury panel and then said, ha, and got their indictment. Now then, so Ann says that the prosecution failed to give the grand jury the proper instructions when explaining burden of proof. And that is basically what the state has to prove in order to show that this crime was committed. They should have been given the proper instruction for burden of proof before they were able to vote and, for an indictment or to return, a no bill. If this indictment, so that leaves us then in the true crime community going, but wait a minute, what happens? What will we do if Ann gets her wish and they throw out the indictment? I mean, does Kohberger walk free? What happens? Well, no. What ends up happening at that point is they simply move forward with the preliminary hearing, which is what most of us wanted to see anyway. Now, not that anybody cares what we in the true crime community want, but we like the preliminary hearings because then we get access to what the state or what the prosecution has, what they know, and then it gives us factual information to discuss and kind of break down and explore, and gives the sleuths, targeted information to learn about. With the grand jury, where everything is secret and we, the public, don't have any access to that, we're left with the same problem, rehashing the same old information. Drip Drop, who is a guy that most of us in the true crime community really enjoy his content. He's kind of found himself in a little bit of hot water. I don't think it's rightfully, I don't think he should be, but he's kind of in a little bit of hot water with some of Brent Kolpacka's friends because they feel like that he unfairly targeted Brent. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up as I'm talking about burden of proof and Bethany Funke is this. With the gag order in place on this case, we have been denied, we the public, we have been denied any hint of factual, real information. Now, that's one thing you can say about Heuermann. They're doing a great job keeping us informed. I'm talking about the law enforcement. The people that are running the Heuermann investigation, they're great. I love them so far. It's going super. And even though we don't have access to the courtroom and things like that, I do feel like they've done a really good job with press conferences as well as updating the journalists and whatnot into where things stand, what are the facts, what is the law that guides why they've done the things they've done. So those of us that are discussing the Heuermann case or interested in it, we have factual information to discuss with real content that isn't speculative or kind of feeding conspiracy theories and things like that. With the Bryan Kohberger case, it's the exact opposite. We're not getting any real information. We're not getting any facts put out there. And so we've got a few true crime sleuthers and investigators that are on the ground in Idaho. They're interviewing people, they're discussing, and then they're coming back and reporting to us, which is simply conversations they've had in the community and wild speculation. And we just don't have any way of knowing if it's fact-based or not. And as long as no one is allowed to report to the journalist, then how do any of those law enforcement or officers of the court, how did they come out and say, wait a minute. You guys went a little bit too far with the naked man running out of the sliding glass doors. Can I just say that? I mean, yes, Bethany Funke has a story to tell. Yes, the defense wants to hear from her. But why are you guys talking about naked people? What's the deal, Lucille? Well, it's this, Felicia. We don't have any way of knowing if what she said was actually there was a naked man. We don't know if she said there was a guy running out in his skivvies, in his Calvin Klein whitey tidies, or is he a shorts kind of guy? We don't know because no one's allowed to comment. No one's allowed to come out and say, you guys that are looking at all this Linda Lane footage, y'all aren't even looking at the right date. Somebody put the wrong date on that footage, and y'all are looking from the year 2019. It's not even the night of the murder, so quit looking at it. They can't even do that. So with the gag order in place, they're not confirming nor denying. They're not agreeing nor correcting. We have no way of knowing the things that are circulating, the things that are being said. There is literally no way of knowing if it's all fantasy or not. So that brings us to Bethany Funke. So we've got this issue with the defense that they want to throw out the indictment from the grand jury because they say that they were not, the panel, the people that were on the grand jury, that they were not properly instructed about the burden of proof, that they didn't have the information about the law that they actually needed to have before they could vote on whether or not they would, return an indictment. That they weren't fully instructed, that their instructions were improper or limited at best. Now, we don't have yet a decision on this. This is something that we're waiting to see. But I think that the strategy is, let's get this indictment thrown out. That then requires that Idaho put on a preliminary hearing. And then at that point, which is crazy to think about because the trial is scheduled for October. So we're really getting down to weeks. I mean, the countdown is close enough that you can actually just count, weeks instead of months, or, in the case of the Daybells, like a year or more. So she wants to get it thrown out so that they can have the preliminary hearing. Now, what happens with the preliminary hearing? Well, the important part of the preliminary hearing was the statement that was made by Bethany Funke. And I know that Dylan Mortenson has gotten a lot of attention. Both Dylan and Bethany are considered survivors because they were in the house the night that these 4 young people were horribly murdered, ravaged, and, desecrated. But Bethany and Dylan not only did they survive a quadruple murder, they slept until noon. I mean, it wasn't exactly noon, but they slept. They had a late morning. They slept till 10:30, something like that. And the facts of what happened that morning are really sketchy. I have made no mistake, no secret about, I do think that WSU Kim is an opportunist, and she has taken on the role of a real family that was actually in the action 4 or 5 years ago. Not now. That she's used a family's name, family structure, locations to try and verify that what she's saying is true. I think, Drunk Turkey said that they verified, that there's an athlete playing for WSU, yada, yada. Okay, all that's true. The problem is it was all 4 or 5 years ago. It's not real. And there'll be more about that story, Kim. All right, now then, and I don't think her name is Kim. It's not her, but she's using the mother's name. The mother's name is Kimberly. All right, so we're getting all this information. We haven't been able to get it, verified. And so now we've got these 2 girls that survive a night where there's a quadruple murder in the house in which they sleep. There have been lots of lies or miscommunications. Number 1, here's one. Both Bethany and Dylan were asleep on the bottom floor, the ground floor. Not true. That was wrong. Law enforcement struck that and said, no. They were not both downstairs. In fact, Dylan was on the second floor while Bethany was on the ground floor. And so Dylan on the second floor, by making sure that she's sleeping on the second floor, now we have someone who can be an eyewitness, someone that can open a door and go, oh, man in black, bushy eyebrows, nearly 6 feet tall. Saw him, walked right past me. I saw him. There is some gossip or speculation or lies, I don't know, that Dylan Mortenson picked out Bryan Kohberger in a lineup. That doesn't sound real to me, but it is being talked about. So it doesn't sound real to me, but is it? Who knows? Who knows? Now we have some indication based on the movement of the defense. Bethany knows something and Anne wants her to state it in a public forum. And the defense counsel wants Bethany to sit up on the stand and tell us what she saw that night, because supposedly Anne thinks it's exculpatory. That if Bethany gets up on the stand and she tells what she saw, whatever that may have been, naked man or not, that once she does that, then something about that story will be enough that it will call into question whether Bryan Kohberger could be the killer or not. Why? Because Bethany saw a naked guy in the house? You got 4 dead people. It's not only possible that there was more than one killer, but maybe probable. Maybe there was a group of killers. We don't know, but it's not like there was one killer. I mean, one person that was murdered. There were 4 people killed in 2 different locations. Xana and Ethan were together on the second floor. And then Madison and Kaylee were together on the third floor. And then the little dog was in, Kaylee's bedroom. How does Anne think that just because Bethany may have seen someone different than what Dylan saw, meaning there were 2 people in the house, why would that prove exculpatory to Bryan Kohberger? So I don't, other than this possibility that it introduces reasonable doubt. Well, I'm just going to say doubt. I'm not going to say reasonable, because, okay, maybe there was a second person there, but maybe they knew each other. Maybe this was planned. Maybe that all of this about Madison, drugs, Madison didn't want the drugs in the house, so she flushed them down the toilet. Of course, making the drug dealers, whomever they may be, very angry, and that this was like a drug hit or whatever. I don't know. That this case has generated some of the wildest speculation I've seen in any case. I mean, this takes Watts Island and just blows it out of the water. And Wild Speculation Fridays, that was my original, Friday show. So I'm not really aversive to wild speculation as long as you state it as such. But this case has got so much crazy information floating around. Crazy stuff. So who knows what's real? Who knows? That would be one benefit to a preliminary hearing. If the judge decides to throw out the grand jury indictment and do the preliminary hearing, one of those benefits for us directly as YouTube community or YouTube true crime community is, we'll get some factual information for a change. we'll get some factual information, and it will put to rest a lot of the more spectacular and audacious theories. So I don't particularly look at this as a horrible development. Either way, really. I mean, there's pluses if they don't throw out the grand jury indictment. There's pluses if they do. But I think we keep coming back to this awareness that these judges need to really think about before they start, doing all of this hiding information, gag order, and all that. I don't think that you're protecting your jury pool. I think you're making a bad situation worse when you have these gag orders, because it's not just people coming out to report facts. The judge is limiting law enforcement and officers of the court from coming out and correcting these crazy, spectacular, wild west speculations. At least without the gag order, they can, like, let's say the court's public information officer, they could do like a weekly press conference and say, we understand that there is a story circulating about a naked man running out of the house that morning. And I can unequivocally say, to our knowledge, that is false. We have no reason to believe that that is a true comment. Or that, somebody said that Madison flushed, tons of fentanyl down the toilet. We, according to us, our investigation, the information we've gathered, we can say that we have no reason to believe that that was a factual account. So if they didn't have the gag orders, they could at least keep control of the information that was, percolating. The way it is now, anybody that gets picked for this jury, oh my God, there's so much crazy information. And this is not helping that no one can speak out about the facts. And I do think that the public is capable, if a judge can instruct a jury, as you deliberate, you cannot consider information that we have objected to and sustained, and you can only consider the information that the court has allowed. You've got to disregard what you've heard on the news before the trial. You've got to disregard what, might have been said in the courtroom that was objected to and sustained. If they can instruct a jury to do those things, then why in the world, before there is a jury summons put out and everything, why can't there be an officer of the court that's coming out and saying this information is absolutely not correct? They don't have to tell us what is correct. They just need to try to tamp down a little bit on all of this, conjecture, I guess. And I don't know. A lot of people are developing their own storylines, and that's paying them because they're coming up with exciting and interesting stories that then, results in a lot of views and people get money. I mean, that's why we do the content and whatnot, is because we do want to grow our channels, and we do want that. But the Kohberger case is just out of control. It's out of control. So the way it stands right now, we are waiting. Ann Taylor would like the grand jury to indictment to be thrown out because burden of proof, the jury instruction was not adequate. And if it is thrown out, then we proceed to a preliminary hearing, which is very curious because here we are in August, and the trial is supposed to start October the 2nd. So So the trial's supposed to start October 2nd, Latah County Court in Idaho. Bryan Kohberger was arrested December the 30th, 2022, and he was arrested and indicted on felony burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder for the murders of Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogen, and Ethan Chapin. Now then, the reason that I brought up Brent Kolpacka, there are people, now get this, got to stay organized in your head because this is like a building story, so it's crazy. So Ann Taylor has wanted Bethany Funke, not Dylan Mortenson, the eyewitness on the second floor. Bethany Funke, ground floor, supposedly saw no one. Well, it would seem that she did tell the cops she did see someone in the house. This is what's true, what's fact, in the house. So she saw something. What has built and grown has been this. She saw a naked man running out the double glass sliding doors on the second floor, which would mean she would have had to have come up from the ground floor to see somebody running out of the door. We have Dylan saying that she saw a guy dressed all in black with bushy eyebrows, that she saw him leave through the sliding glass doors at what, 4:15, 4:17, something like that in the morning. Okay. Now, Bethany's a bit different. Bethany saw somebody leave naked through the glass sliding doors on the second floor, and that it was not one of the friends that found the Xana and Ethan, but that it was actually Bethany who found them first, that she was the first one to see the bodies. Just the second floor. It was much later before anybody went up to the third floor and found Madison and Kaylee. So what does this mean? Does this mean that 2 people were there? Bryan and some naked man? Does it mean that Dylan is lying and she didn't see anything, and that the killer did not leave until Bethany got up at around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and she disrupted him? That the naked man just happened to be leaving at the same time that she's waking up and coming upstairs? Or does it mean there were 2 men there, and that Dylan did originally see Bryan leave at 4, somewhere in the 4 to 4:30 hour, that she did see Bryan leave, and that a second man who was in the house ended up leaving much later? And we do know that Bryan came back to the area and stuck around for around 20 or 30 minutes. Was he trying to get his friend? I don't know. And that brings us to Brent Kolpacka's name. It is very curious that they have this terrible, horrific tragedy with Brent, or Brett, that they have this terrible, horrible tragedy. He ends up being shot by the police in Pullman. And it seems, after going through the 911 recordings, the police, the body camera recordings and whatnot, it sure doesn't seem like they had to shoot him. It seems like there was a lot that was crazy that night. There was a lot that was wrong. For example, his phone was found, Brent Kolpacka's, his phone was found in the apartment beside the kitchen sink, and it had been wiped clean. So Cellbrite, nothing will retrieve the information off the phone. So the question is, well, okay, so it's wiped clean. Clearly someone is hiding something. That is undeniable. No, I don't know who cleared it, but whomever it was, they had something to hide, right? That, I mean, that now a lot of people are saying, oh, the cops did it, the cops, the bad old cops, they did it, they wiped it clean. Are you sure? Are you rushing to a convenient idea? Because what's the possibility that Kolpacka knew the situation that he was in, that he recognized, okay, I have live rounds. I'm firing my gun outside of my apartment around the neighborhood. This apartment building is surrounded by cops. I'm probably not going to survive this. And if I do, I'm certainly going to prison. So I don't want anybody to see what I've been doing. So he kills his cell phone. Think about that. What if Brent was in a relationship with one of these young ladies? Or he was stalking them? Or he had some kind of illegal business going on at 1122 King Road? We don't know. But what we actually do know, the fact is, the phone was wiped clean. That does tell us that someone, something surrounding Kolpacka wanted his secrets kept. He moved to Pullman only a month before Bryan Kohberger. They lived within 2 or 3 miles of each other. Bryan had to drive past those apartments where Brent Kolpacka lived. Kolpacka's so-called best friend, he wasn't there. He wasn't in Pullman. So to me, the fact that when they pulled over Bryan and his father, pulled him over twice in Indiana, when they pulled him over, and within moments, the dad is talking about how they are listening to the police scanner for what's happening with Kolpacka. Is that not of interest to anyone but me? But I haven't heard anybody really talk about that as a really big part of this puzzle. The fact that they are making this 19, 20, 21-hour drive across the country, and they are listening to a police scanner of Kolpacka's execution. I'll use that term loosely. That can't be ignored. I'm one of those people. I've reached a point in this whole true crime journey. I've reached a point that coincidences are really hard to believe to be simply coincidences. Do they happen? Of course. I experienced a huge coincidence like 2 weeks ago. I was floored by something that happened in Houston. And I was like, oh my God, 300 million people in the United States of America, and right next door is who? It was shocking. So coincidences do happen. There's no doubt they do. But it is very difficult to believe these are coincidences when you have a murder of 4 young people. You have a PTSD veteran who seems to have been executed when there was no reason to have hurt him. There were many other opportunities, things that they could have done to talk him down, given the particular set of circumstances. The fact that his phone was wiped clean and found on that kitchen sink right there laid out like, here it is, people, don't look any further because here's my phone. or here's his phone. Who wiped the phone? Who did it? So the guy who's got, PTSD, executed apparently some form of execution, whether self-defense or not, happened. His phone is wiped clean, and you've got the accused murderer of 4 people listening to a police scanner of this very execution when he is stopped in Indiana. That is too unusual and curious to overlook as simply coincidence. It's just too crazy. Now, so that's where I am with Brent Kolpacka. And I do know that his friend is furious with Drip Drop. And I think you're wrong to dox anyone. This whole game that has come over YouTube and the whole social media thing in the true crime community or the trauma community has to stop. Why are you guys doxing people? There's no need to dox them. You are using Gestapo tactics of Nazi Germany when you do that. I'm going to control others through fear. And if that fear is to expose and name their phone numbers, their addresses, why? So people will go and stalk them. You may be your little temper tantrum, throwing a little fit and putting out somebody's address or phone number because you don't like something they said, may get someone else hurt. So, you know what? I'm not impressed with you and all of your cuss words and your, I'm so audacious, and know what? Anyone has the ability to be audacious. Anyone has the ability to be obscene and vulgar. Anyone can cuss like a drunk sailor. You're not special or powerful or important because you know how to be rude and offensive. In truth, I think cuss words and whatnot is sort of it's the work of a simple mind. If you're an intelligent and sophisticated person, you can deliver those messages without all of the offensive vulgarity. That is the truth. But when you start, because someone said something you didn't like, they simply had an opinion you did not like, and so you respond by saying, I am putting your real name out there, I'm putting your phone number out there, I'm putting your real address out there. Well, you have revealed yourself to have a very simple mind that prefers Gestapo tactics. And the reality is that most people in 2023, they refuse to be controlled through fear. We've been through that fear-based, contingency. COVID-19, all of the shutdown, lockdown, everything that happened, people losing, people aren't afraid anymore. That was like throwing us into the fire. We all figured out how to tolerate fear. So shame on you for throwing out people's real names and addresses. You may get somebody hurt. So I wouldn't give that guy not another minute of my view time after the behavior that he did, simply because he did not like what Drip Drop said. It's just an opinion. Drip Drop didn't put anybody in danger. He didn't give out anybody's actual, this is the address, you should go there. But bozo head, bobblehead, should I call him bobblehead redneck? He did. And it made me really, really mad. It was not necessary. I think that Drip Drop is correct in having curiosity about Kolpacka. And I think today I've laid that out why I think so. I think the phone being wiped is shocking. I'm not saying the cops did it. I have no idea who did it, but I am saying that others besides the cop had access to do that. It could have been done by Kolpacka himself. And who better would know what was on the phone than Kolpacka? He knew what was on his phone. He knew that he was in trouble. He knew that his behavior was going to bring down a world of hurt on him, either through a bullet or through prison. He knew that he was in trouble. He knew what was about to happen. So did he clean it? Did he wipe it? I don't know. Did the cops? I don't know. Maybe somebody got in there before the cops did and they were able to wipe it. Maybe that's what actually freaked Brett out that morning, was maybe his roommates got his phone and they're the ones that wiped it. They did a factory reset on it. Maybe that's what set him off. We don't know. But I do think when you do start looking at phones and they've been factory reset, followed by death very soon after, it's a secret on that phone. There's something being hidden with that phone, and you have Bryan Kohberger, the accused murderer of 4 young people. You have him driving through Indiana, listening to the story, the police scanner and everything, and the dad not knowing what's going on. The dad's just like, yeah, we're just listening, we're making this long drive, listening to this kid got shot, in Pullman, have you heard about it? The cops are like, no, I hadn't heard about it. Because it wasn't on TV yet. It wasn't on the news. And you saw Bryan Kohberger's face when his dad said that. When his dad said that, he was like, what did you say? Oh my God. No. He told his dad, no. We don't know that. Oh no, we don't know that. I'm telling y'all. So Mr. I'm Brent Kolpacka's best friend. You really overstepped. Your hair trigger reaction is highly suspect, in my opinion. There is more than enough reason to be worried, or at least curious, about the possibility that Kolpacka might have been friends with Bryan, might have been dating one of the girls. There might be something, because Bryan Kohberger showed interest in him enough to be listening to the police scanner, number one. And number two, there was a phone that was owned by this young man who was summarily executed. That there was a phone that was factory reset. So why wouldn't people with curiosity think that maybe Kolpacka knew something? Not that Kolpacka's a murderer, not that he went in that house and did anything. Maybe he was dating Dylan. And when Bethany came upstairs, Kolpacka's walking out the back door after spending the night with Dylan. It doesn't necessarily, just because people say, hey, we need to know more about Kolpacka, he might be involved, he may know Bryan Kohberger. That doesn't mean that people are saying that Kohberger was the murderer. I don't think I've heard anybody say that he did the murders. So y'all can tell that I got really triggered by this guy when he was on T-Rev. I thought that he was obnoxious and he showed zero respect for many of the listeners. A lot of people didn't care. A lot of people, it didn't bother them, but there were a lot of people that were interested in this story that loved to listen to T-Rev, and they don't. This guy was offensive. I mean, he was calling people stupid. It was uncomfortable and strangely out of place for the situation. No one was there challenging him. No one was trying to stir the pot. No one. Everybody just wanted knowledge, just wanted to be educated. That's all that anybody wanted. And it turned out to be a bad deal. And he completely doxed Drip Drop. And if I were Drip Drop, I'd sue the guy. He probably doesn't have anything worth taking, but I'd sue him just because he put, Drip Drop in danger. So I'm done. Rant finished. Okay. So let's see. Angela Critters, welcome. Law enforcement can get records from phones that he had texted. How did cops get Kohberger's friend's number? Very good question, Annie. How would he get that number? How would they get that number? Maybe they talked to Kohberger's mother, and the mother said, oh, if he'll listen to anyone, he'll listen to blah, 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 and gave him the phone number. That's possible. What if, and this probably seems more likely considering, personality and whatnot, what if Kohberger's friend heard about this and actually contacted the cops themselves and said, I'm his best friend. I can talk to him if y'all need me to, but they never, beyond that first conversation, they didn't call him back. Hey, Callie, welcome. Hey, Onward and Outward. If Bryan names Kohberger as an accomplice, he'd be admitting guilt himself. Yes, absolutely. All right. Tina JP. Welcome, Tina JP. Oh, so angry. So Tina saw, but I'm just curious. How many of you were watching T-Rev when this happened? Just put a one or a emoji or just something to show that you were watching. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Oh, it was terrible. It was so bad. Fry. The detour from the crime scene that night into Pennsylvania from Idaho, where they went hundreds of miles out of the way, gloves to ditch trash at the neighbor's house, extensive cleaning of the car, innocent, not no, but right? The gloves all by themselves is just, it's like, this wouldn't stand up in a court of law to convict you, but as your sister or your mom or your dad, you look crazy. Hey, big ups, welcome. Is it true that Kohberger was a trained assassin in the Army? I don't think there's like a directory, right? Oh gosh. Today is what? Today's Wednesday. Today I need a trained assassin. Let me pull out. Let's see. Here is my official Army trained assassin directory. Let's see. Let's see. Go to page 365. Oh, yes. Army trained assassins. Aha. Brent Kolpacka. He's my guy. No, I don't know. How would you know that? You wouldn't know that. All right. Is it true? Let's see. Big D-bag. Oh, yes, Elbow. It was so bad. I will tell you this. The thing that made me angry about that T-Rev show, it wasn't T-Rev. T-Rev was awesome. He was respectful. He was the same T-Rev. Nothing unusual, out of the ordinary from him. But what made me so angry was the full doxing of Drip Drop. That's what did it. I'm weary of these bullies online who are invading people's personal lives and putting them in danger. I'm weary of that. It's, that is narcissistic behavior. When you hear people saying, oh, I'm going to put out your real name and I'm going to put out where your kids work and where you live, and I'm going to call your boss and I'm going to tell on you, nanny, boo, boo. When you see that is pure, unadulterated narcissism at work. And they are doing that to harm another person. So on the internet, people have a lot of opinions, and a lot of people don't agree with your opinions. They don't. We are a nation, or a world, even our whole culture. We are a world where people's ideas and opinions about life and the economy and the Ukraine. We're all so polarized. We don't just have these beliefs and we're kind of like, I kind of agree or I kind of disagree. People are so passionate about what they believe. It's like part of their identity. If you support the war in Ukraine, or if you support what's something else, the prosecution of Donald Trump, if you support these things, you don't just like, yeah, he probably did it. He probably needs to go to jail. You're just passionate. You're like, I'm going and I'm camping out for 3 weeks and I'm going to make my presence known. And this matters. And I can't talk to you if you like Trump. You know, there's people have opinions, but it's like it's part of their identity. And so it's really super important to them. And it is causing a lot of animosity and a lot of violence and a lot of, anxiety and a lot of, mental, physical health issues. It is okay to have an opinion that is different from other people's. That's fine. We can tolerate that. We have the ability to have 2 opposing ideas in our mind at one time. We have that ability. We can do that. I'm talking about as animals, our human brain can do that type of complicated thought. But when you hold your ideas, your opinions so closely to you that they become a part of your identity, then if someone speaks against your opinion, then it feels like they are casting judgment on you as an individual, as a person. And that is just not the case. I can absolutely dislike Trump and believe that Joe Biden should go to jail. I can believe those things and it not have a direct effect on me. Like I'm not going to waste a lot of time arguing and worrying about these things. They're beyond my control. And I happen to think most politicians are probably not very honest. And I mean, they got there, they had to do a lot of unscrupulous things, to climb that ladder. So I think we're foolish to believe that anybody, any one of those really uber powerful people are highly moral. And it's just probably not likely, Power is really not about people that are in positions of authority, top level accomplishment. It's not really about their power and their control. It's really more about their ability to manipulate other people, right? And if you know that if you're willingly manipulating other people, aren't you violating your own morals or ethics? A little, kind of, right? So I just don't get. It's not important to me. I don't get really caught up in it. Now there are some things that I would fight tooth and nail to the death. One of those is child abuse. That is something that is a part of my identity. And in no way could I ever find a way to say, okay, you want to abuse a child, you want to murder a child, you want to harm a child. I get where you're coming from. No, I will never get where you're coming from. You hurt a little kid, you're bad, and you need to be isolated away from humanity. That is part of, what makes me who I am. So in this particular situation, it was particularly egregious, not because Kohberger's friend was cussing. And I mean, it was offensive. It was boring to listen to because of all the cussing and threats and stuff. But what really sent me over the edge and really triggered me was the complete and total doxing of a person online who has not been public about who he is. But the complete and total doxing of this guy. And for what? For safety? No, because Drip Drop has an opinion. Drip Drop has a thought and an idea that Mr. Bozo Head doesn't like. And because he didn't like Drip Drop's opinion, he believed that it was perfectly okay for him to put Drip Drop in danger. Like Nazi Germans, did, the Gestapo. So good job. And I'm hoping that Brent Kolpacka was a lot better human being than what you revealed, on T-Rev's show. And again, T-Rev was awesome. Don't get me wrong. Love T-Rev. Watch him all the time. This had nothing to do with T-Rev. It was really about how offensive and aggressive this guy was. Made me very nervous. All right, Jeff H, welcome. Good to see you. Chris Rock kind of docs Darren. So, I didn't know about that, Jeff. Why would Chris Rock stalk him? That sounds like a story. All right. Let's see. No sheath needed in the bucket. Who brought the sheath? Where Robin except being tracked there 12 times previously. Where did the naked man thing come from? It was a process, like I said, and we do. I think it is accepted that Bethany claims to have seen someone in the house that was not who Dylan described. When did that grow to naked man? I don't know, but it's a thing now. Like everybody believes that there was a naked man in the house. But even if there was a naked guy in the house, I don't think that is exculpatory. It may introduce a little bit of doubt, but I don't think it's exculpatory, not by a long shot. Like I said, the naked guy could have been someone who was spending the night with something, you don't know. So, if all that is true and he was messaging one or more victims, phone and GPS is true, he is in a lot of trouble. Pretty stalkerish to me. Is Drip Drop still making videos? Yes, Mama 4. He is. Yeah. He doesn't just do this Idaho 4 content. He does all different he's got also he does a channel where he has like the interrogation videos. So he's a well-established creator who's been around a very long time and has had zero drama. So it was a crazy show. It was a crazy show. If Bethany saw a naked man running from the back of the house carrying a shower curtain that had bloody clothing inside it, I think I may know what happened. Me too, Jeff. All right. 12 times in 5 months, absolutely would be stalking when the people don't know you exist or know if you and don't want anything to do with you. Also, I have, no, it's on the other computer. So I was asked, where did you get this information? Where did you get this information that that Bryan Kohberger's phone was accessing 1122 King Road, their router? Not just that GPS had them in the same location, but that his phone number was actually connecting to 1122. And I thought, well, I guess it must have been in one of the documents. I was trying to remember. I mean, I felt like it was really good information. I felt secure about that. And I couldn't remember exactly where it was that I had seen or heard this. And so I looked and looked and looked, and now I know. And I've got it. I've got the video. Okay. It's on my hard drive. Not on this computer system, but my upstairs one. It was stated by Kaylee's father. So he shortly after the arrest of Kohberger, he did an interview, and he said that his phone was recorded by their router. Oh, Tessie Cooper, you're so sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming to my channel and listening. I appreciate it. And I want to take a minute for like some shameful pandering. please, 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 will you hit the thumbs up or thumbs down? Either one. It's up to you. YouTube does not know that my channel exists. I am not getting any kind of YouTube promotion at all. Most of my views come from people Googling my name or putting my name in the search engine. So I'm begging you, will you please hit the thumbs up or thumbs down? And you can leave a comment under the video too. That will help the YouTube computer say, oh, wait, there's a video over here. Maybe we should promote it with someone. Just one other person, please, YouTube. But please. Oh, AK-47. I saw you last night. Maybe the router was open or easy to get into, for sure. Absolutely. Like I know around my house, it's simple to get on other routers and use their internet. It's not hard at all. So yeah, pretty easy. But I saw AK-47 last night. We had a great time. We were watching Beetlejuice and another guy, not Brad. What was the name? Bart? I don't know. Gary. So it was Beetlejuice and Gary. And so they were asking, like questions, and the creator was giving out Amazon gift cards and things like that. So it was a fun night. I had a good time. And yeah, Yamaha Harley, was that his name? Yamaha Harley. So I'm hoping that Yamaha Harley will come around. So we had two AKs in the channel, AK Rocks and AK-47. So my daughter had unsecured Wi-Fi in her college apartment. Too many people coming and going to have a password. There you go, critters. Steve Gonsalves said there was only one encounter where Brian's phone touched the kid's Wi-Fi, not connected. Yeah, Wakinian Tonka. Yes, that what Wakinian is saying, I think, is probably like a direct quote from the video. But as soon as I get done, I'll go straight upstairs. I can play the video. I'll get on a different computer and pull it up, and we can play it. But what Wakinian said is nearly word for word what Goncalves says in the interview. Dexter's one of the best shows ever. Thank you, Wakinian. Appreciate that. That's right, Melissa. Yes, that the phone touched. Yeah. So like my phone is set to search. Like if you're, how do I explain this? So I travel overseas a lot. And when I'm in the airport, making connecting flights, whatever. So when I'm traveling, my international phone, I have it set to look for, to connect to Wi-Fi's. So it doesn't ask my permission. It'll just connect to a random Wi-Fi. So it's always testing, looking for, the nearest Wi-Fi or a Wi-Fi with good signal. So I suspect that might be kind of what it was. Is that what they're talking about? That the phone was looking for a Wi-Fi to connect to? That was kind of the way I took it. All right. Let's see. Cat K, welcome. Annie Ruler, possible stalking, maybe buying drugs. I will say this about Kohberger being in that area so many times over several months. He himself didn't move there until, toward the end of the summer, but maybe he had a friend over there. There might have been, that is a very dense area with a lot of apartments and whatnot. It's possible there was a friend that lived there that he knew. Where he was working for the college, he was in an office suite with two other graduate students, both Asian, one a female, one a male. Maybe one of them lived there. The corner apartment, there is an Asian family that owns that particular apartment. So maybe that was the daughter or something that is in the program and the PhD student. I think she graduated this year with her PhD in criminology. But anyway, so there was also eyewitnesses that reported to the news saying that they had seen him with an Asian young woman in the car with him fairly often. But there was no real indication that they were dating. And in fact, his office suite, he shared an office with a young Asian woman. So that's not unusual. And it doesn't mean that they were dating. Maybe he's just giving her a ride. Maybe she didn't have a car. So we got to quit building things up that may not, we don't have any reason to believe that that was dating. Marks Idaho off of my vacation list. Doesn't mean he was near the home. No, it pretty well means he was near the home. Here's the example, May. So I have here on one of my systems, I have multiple internet lines coming into the home, right? So on a couple, I don't access the internet, like social media and stuff. They're kept pristine. Then I have one that is all of my social media, television, all that stuff. I have what do they have a name for it? I don't know. There's something on it that will make the signal stronger and push the signal a bit further. And so we added that because we wanted to be able to watch TV outside, like under the patio, and the signal wasn't strong enough. And so they added these modulators, or I can't remember what they call them. And so now if you're outside under the patio, then you can still get the internet. But if you're down like on the road or even out on my driveway, you're not going to access my internet. You can't get that far. So you do have to be, Paige, I think repeater might be what it was called. Yeah. So Jeff says Wi-Fi repeater. I think you guys may be right. Yeah. They're these little things that plug into the wall, like into the outlets, the power outlets. And they kind of go from the router down and then out underneath the patio. So we don't have a long, a wide range for the Wi-Fi. So for his telephone to touch their router, he would have had to been like right outside the house would be my guess. Maybe a signal booster. Yeah. Something like that. Don't ask me. I'm a terrific psychologist and I am a terrible, terrible computer technology guru. Just awful. I was going to make a joke about my cooking and I thought, no, going too far. All right. I don't cook. Why would I cook when my husband's a great cook? Crime Circus over a year ago was copying interrogation videos from Deep Dive True Crime, who is a retired lawyer. I don't know who that is. Deep Dive True Crime. I don't know him. I got a block from my home on my Wi-Fi with my router. So Walkinian, meaning maybe he just like walked by the house, or maybe he didn't hit, connect. Is that what you mean? That if he had looked at his phone, it would have shown the available Wi-Fi, but he didn't necessarily say, okay, I want to join this router. Is that what you mean? If you look at the list of available Wi-Fi connections on your phone, does that mean your phone is touching them? Right, Tina? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What is meant by touching, not connecting? because you're putting out wrong information. Who's putting out wrong information? I don't want to be the one doing that. I live in a duplex and I gave the people next door my Wi-Fi password because they are so close. Okay, so what Kenyon said, that's right. Yeah, so with my international phone, it will just connect. If there's it will have it will test from any kind of Wi-Fi that it picks up. And if there's a connection that doesn't require a password, then my phone will access it as long as I'm in range. On my domestic phone, the one that I have with me all the time that I carry around with me, if I open it up, it will show all the different Wi-Fi possibilities nearby. Like it knows those Wi-Fi signals are out there, but I have it set so that I have to tell it, see that Wi-Fi connection, connect there, and then hit yes, and then it will latch me on to that signal. So I think if I'm understanding this, because this is not my thing, but if I'm understanding it right, Bryan Kohberger's phone saw their Wi-Fi signal, but he did not latch onto it to like use it. The phone just saw it, but it didn't connect to it. AK-47, that's because you connected before. Okay. When I go to my mom's house, I'm automatically hooked up. Yeah. Hey, Dark Sparkles. Unless he had connected to it before, it wasn't auto connect, even if it was an open network. All right. This is why I love YouTube. Hi, Kiki. How are you doing? It's good to see you today. This is why I love YouTube, because you never know what you're going to learn. You never know, just being in these conversations, you can just learn so much interesting stuff. I did a video on my channel about the CCTV camera at Linda Lane. It still records if the internet goes down, and it still records if the internet goes down and the Wi-Fi goes down. Interesting. What do you think, Jeff? Do you know, on those videos at around 4 or so, there's a guy walking, tall, very thin. And I think he looks like, to me, he's just got on some pants and maybe like a t-shirt, right? That guy looks suspicious to me. And maybe it's just suspicious because somebody's running around in the freezing weather, I will say one thing about the Linda Lane footage. I think that doesn't the charging documents, don't they say something like it was a quiet or unusually quiet evening? Is that the way it's worded? Something like that. This unusually quiet night of the murders. No, it wasn't. There was not a unusually quiet night. There was a lot of movement. There were a lot of cars. Now we know why it says vehicle number 1, right? Because there were multiple vehicles that were running around in that area that night. It wasn't quiet. We could hear the music playing. We could hear people having a domestic dispute. There was a lot going on that night. So that kind of bothers me about the whole, it was an unusually quiet night. I just don't think so. I don't think it was. There were dogs barking. You saw the car pull up in the 4. Oh my gosh. If we really wanted to do wild speculation, that is a video to do. 2 of those 4 people that walk up and sound like they're kicking the apartment building or stomping their feet or something, 2 of those people, they're not very good people. That doesn't mean that they, doesn't mean they had anything to do with it, but some strange commentary back and forth. So I don't know, strange. Cars honking, speeding off, cats are walking by. It was a catty little night, Cat Coy, or Cat K, sorry. Kohberger was a tech guy at one of the universities. That I did not know. Interesting when you think about the internet being down. Yeah. Me too, Kenyon. It was not a quiet night. I live next to an off-campus women's frat house. It was cold at first, but now they just piss me off. David, you don't like all those squeals and those screaming cat fights? Listen, UC Davis played Vandals at Vandals home field on 11/12/22. Carlos Dominguez was a student at UC Davis on FB team, and he was arrested for murder a couple of months ago. Now there is an interesting connection. Carlos Dominguez. That is very interesting. But here's the deal too, you guys. What happened to those 4 young people? That was not a, oh, I'm mad, I'm going to attack you. Oopsie, I killed you. That was something else. What happened to those 4 people is so unique and unusual that the killer is going to have to be equally as unusual. Stabbing? What? All right, here we go. So this is the information about Carlos Dominguez, suspect in the UC Davis serial killing stabbings, not competent to stand trial because he was stark raving mad, right? So this came out June the 20th of this year. The former UC Davis student suspected of stabbing and killing 2 and injuring another woman was in court on Tuesday with the hearing about answering the question, is Carlos Dominguez competent to stand trial? A doctor concluded that he is not competent, but the district attorney disagrees, so they will move forward with a trial and let a jury decide if he is competent. He has very bushy eyebrows, but he looks to be very, very skinny. Shortly after the results of the report were read, a messy-haired, safety smock-wearing Dominguez spoke out in court unprompted. He blurted. As his defense attorney was speaking, Dominguez blurted by saying, I want to apologize, and I want to say I am guilty. Forgive me. Right after making that statement, the judge clarified to the court that the criminal proceedings are currently suspended while they determine competency. So Dominguez's admission of guilt has no bearing and should not be used against him. For a week, UC Davis residents lived in fear, not knowing who was behind the deadly stabbings. I would like to imagine that somebody capable of doing that is not mentally strong or healthy. But at the same time, I do believe we all need to be held accountable for the things that we do, said resident Stevie Allen. Stevie Allen. Is that from Collie Rodney? I'm going to have to look into that. Central Park is where police found the first stabbing victim. Following the arrest of the accused serial stabber, the area has become serene again. I think ultimately everyone just felt a lot of relief when the person was found. Though a question looms over the college town, what would make someone go on a stabbing spree? I feel tremendously sorry for that kid who was thrown into a foreign country with no family and no way of ever being a normal human being, said a woman who asked to remain anonymous. Dominguez will be back in court next month, where a jury will determine if he is competent. If they do find him competent, it will be followed by a criminal trial. Where is he from? And so he's undocumented. Well, thank you for that information. That definitely gives us another avenue, doesn't it? That's crazy. Apparently, Dominguez tripped out when his grandmother passed away. So she brought him here like he wasn't a citizen, is kind of what that sounded like. Gosh, you got a lot of people in here not chatting. That's when you know the live is good, when so many are so focused on watching instead of chatting up. Well, thank you. Well, he was an American citizen. Why did that person say that he was just dumped here in a foreign country? That's weird. All right. Thank you, Dark Sparkles, for that information. That is going to be interesting to. Yeah, I knew that the Vandals had a game. I had no idea, though, that there was that connection. Surely the cops are looking into it. You know, Ann Taylor's looking into it, right? Or she should be. Hey, Keister Bunny. Brent was studying IT at Washington State. The main server at University of Idaho was manually placed in park, which meant nothing would log in the registry. Where did you get that information about the internet? So much. See, this is a crazy story. Oh, Jeff H., in terms of Bryan Kohberger watching Dexter, you know he did. He was into this whole, criminology and serial killer fascination. And all right, you guys are awesome. Okay, man, Joaquinian, thank you so much for being here. As well at Paige, it was good to see you. And then Dark Sparkles, Tina, JP, thank y'all so much for this additional angle and interesting information about Dominguez. And I'm gonna see what all I can learn about it, because I think you'd be a bit foolish to ignore that, right? That is really a lot of parallels. See my tutu. How you doing? Good to see you. Man, that was early info, but legitimate, I swear. I'll try to find it in email. Thank you, Elbow. Yeah, that's crazy. I heard he was searching the net, right? He was all over the web. Kolpacka was all over the web, or Kohberger? Have y'all seen that guy in I don't know if it's Las Vegas, in Nevada, who his last name is Kohberger. He looks exactly like Bryan Kohberger. It's kind of freaky. But the wife of the guy was really angry, and she kept saying, "We don't know Bryan Kohberger." I'm like, "Of course you do. They look like they could be twins. Your husband and Bryan Kohberger look like they could be twins. So don't say you don't know him, because clearly you know someone knows someone." I heard he was searching the net. Nice to see you. I just woke up. It was a night of insomnia. I hate insomnia. I have insomnia every now and then. It's miserable. So feel for you. See my to-do. Everything surrounding Brent has been wiped from the internet. It right? And how do you explain that? I know Big Up said that he's a trained assassin. Maybe he is. But the Kohberger case is very curious. To me, the Kolpacka angle has a lot more credibility than this whole drug dealing thing. And I don't. Yes, like a doppelganger, Tina. Yeah, very strange. Kohberger. There you go, AK-47. All right. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being here, and Dark Sparkles and AK-47 and Tina and all you guys that got me on a new direction of inquiry with Dominguez. I'm going to follow up on that because I do think the parallels are crazy. And then I'll be back. Today's Wednesday, so it'll be Friday. I'll be back. Will you please help me help you? No, I'm kidding. Will you please just help me? I'm just selfish. It's just a selfish, unadulterated begging at this point. Hit the thumbs up or thumbs downs to try to get the attention of the YouTube algorithm so that they'll share my videos. All right. I enjoyed talking to everybody today. Thank you for your input and sending me some really great information to give me something else to research. And I'll be back. See you later.